In the ninth, Tommy Byrne is only an out away from victory. And it's all over when Hodges goes down swinging. The Yankees win 4-2 and lead in the series 2-0.
In the autumn of our innocence, late September's legions came alive to wage real but bloodless civil war in that World Series of '55.
Berra, who has been a continual threat at the plate with 9 base hits to his credit, opens the New York fourth with a fly to short left center, and it drops for a double between Gilliam and Snyder. But Padres...
It's amazing that it's still remembered the way it is.
It was a slower paced time of life.
We never thought the Yankees were better than us. They just seemed to win the odd game.
We keep going, we're going to do it. We're going to win sometime.
This is a story of one era not yet over and another not yet begun, and of how 2 baseball teams came to represent the hopes and dreams of a nation in transition. It is the tale of how an ordinary group of men faced extraordinary circumstances and came together to triumph over adversity. This is the story of 1955 and the World Series between the New York Yankees and the Brooklyn Dodgers.
I always contend that baseball is just really a reflection of society.
Over 20 years of hard times, years of depression, war, and death, had blossomed into peace at last. And now our nation caught its breath.
At the beginning of 1955, after the Great Depression and 2 wars, America was enjoying a well-deserved period of peace and prosperity.
Life in the 50s was laid back. Today, everything's rush, rush, rush.
Mom, apple pie, and baseball.
If you listen to old broadcasters from radio days, the pace is very slow. You think, gee, is that the way it was? Because now today we got this rapid fire, we got all this fill, we got all this personal stuff going on. So I think the pace of life was different.
Thanks to the GI Bill, millions of Americans who served in the military were afforded the opportunity to go to college. This sparked an explosion in the growth of employees known as white-collar workers.
It seemed like, $50 a week salary working got me as much as it does today.
But labor jobs were plentiful as well. In working-class communities, a factory job often meant a lifetime of steady work at decent wages, and baseball players were no exception.
These guys, they were not making big salaries. We had to work in the off-season. We had to get jobs. You were a star in Brooklyn, you got to get a job in the wintertime.
A lot of them worked in factories, a lot of them worked in farms, a lot of them worked in local stores. Yogi Berra worked in an automobile dealership. Phil Rizzuto worked as a clothing salesman.
I had 2 jobs. I sold cars and sold television sets in the off-season.
My first full year, I made $140 a month. Now, when I tell this to people, they say, you mean 140 a week? I said, no. 140 a month. But at that time, we thought we were millionaires making 140 a month playing baseball.
Players had to make a living from October through March. So the relationship between the fans and the players was much more connected.
Whether they were pencil pushers or pipe fitters, most Americans were united by a single passion, the game of baseball. And in 1955, 2 teams, more than any others, came to represent the competing values of blue and white-collar workers, the New York Yankees and the Brooklyn Dodgers.
The Yankees represented business interests, and they were corporate America. We were blue-collar Brooklyn.
One team of men was held the gem of all who played this diamond game. They wore pinstripes of big business and showed accounts in Prophet's name, Ruth and Gehrig and DiMaggio. Some of baseball's undisputed best had passed their dominant tradition on to Mantle, Berra, and the rest.
There is a saying that goes, nothing succeeds like success. And those 4 words perfectly describe the American League's New York Yankees.
You know, Yankees were a great club, and anyone who would try to say they weren't would be very, very crazy.
I always avoid saying this Yankee team was lucky. They weren't lucky. They were an outstanding professional group, and they always seemed to get the right thing out of the right people.
It was a Yankee way of doing things. There was really a cold corporate image that the Yankees projected, but the bottom line was they were there to win.
Casey Stengel, the old professor, had already managed the Yankees to 5 consecutive World Series titles. An infield that included Phil Rizzuto, Billy Martin, and Yogi Berra was complemented by pitchers like Whitey Ford and Tommy Byrne. And of course, Mickey Mantle, a kid from a mining town in Oklahoma who had a knack for hitting home runs. When the Yankees took the field, they were expected to win, and it was every other team's greatest desire to bring these gods of baseball back down to earth.
There's no intimidation. Respect, I don't even know if we had respect for the Yankees. We had this mystery feeling about, hey, look at us and look at them. We could beat them. Why? What's going on?
Another saying, everybody loves a winner, would neatly sum up the typical Yankee fan. And for them, the Yanks had come to represent a certain swagger and cockiness that had always been present in the American psyche.
We hated them. We hated the other New York teams. The Giants we hated the most because they were in the National League. There was a rivalry with the Dodgers. You had fights with the other kids.
Today, the Yankee fans are perceived as arrogant Yankee fans, you know, which is probably true.
The Yankees, to us, they were the enemy. We didn't like them, we wouldn't go see them.
It depends on, you know, your dictionary definition or your own definition of hate. I think on the old 0 to 10 scale, I think 9.9 would be pretty accurate. And it's still, and now it's almost 10.
I think that a Yankee fan, at least in those days, and possibly even to today, is the type of person that wants to root for a winner. They can't handle losing. They can't handle failure. They look for perfection. Whereas the Dodger fan would be much like anybody today that roots for the underdog. You know, it's American to root for the underdog.
The other team, of less renown, boys from across the trolley tracks, were 5 times the Bombers' victims and now wore monkeys on their backs. Dem bums, as they were called by some, had become known by those defeats. So they were put at distant odds to best the business-like elites.
The 1955 Brooklyn Dodgers, on the other hand, represented a different side of the American way of life. One of the most successful franchises in the National League, the Dodgers made it to the World Series on 7 previous occasions, but had never walked away world champs. Adding to the sting of defeat, they had lost the last 5 of those contests to their crosstown rivals, the New York Yankees.
We lost the 49, 52, 53 series, so we lost 3, but 47, 41, you keep going back to the late 1890s, 10 times. National champions, world champions, 0. So that's what we were facing in 55.
I never thought that there was a curse on the Dodgers when they were playing the Yankees.
It was just darn bad luck.
Totally luck.
A lot of the times the Yankees would get a break, you know, a ball would drop in here, a ball would drop in there. That was an excuse that the Dodger fans would use, that the Yankees were lucky.
They were just lucky, that's all.
Under the leadership of sophomore manager Walt Alston, the Dodgers had some great talent. Jackie Robinson, Roy Campanella, Pee Wee Reese, Gil Hodges, and Duke Snider, but they were better known for their team style of play rather than the individual achievements of their stars. Pitcher Don Newcombe started his baseball career in the Negro League, playing for the Newark Eagles. In 1946, he joined the Brooklyn Dodger farm system, and by 1949, the Dodgers brought him up to the major leagues, where he earned the honor of Rookie of the Year. Eventually, Newcombe would also become a Cy Young Award winner and League MVP, making him the only player to hold all 3 honors.
Because he had difficulty in the World Series, They put an onus on him, and I don't know why, because he was Hall of Fame material as far as I'm concerned.
Right fielder Carl Furillo was nicknamed the Reading Rifle because of his powerful throwing arm. In a lighthearted poke at his Italian heritage, teammates called him Scoonge, short for scungili, a delicacy made from sea snails.
He was some of the guts of our ball club. He drove in a lot of key runs and threw a lot of base runners out. One of the few right fielders that ever threw a runner out at first base on a base hit. He did that twice.
Nicknamed Popeye for his stocky and powerful build, Don Zimmer was in his second year as a Dodger. His presence on the field was a tribute to his dedication, because in 1953, while playing in the minors, Zimmer was hit in the head by a stray pitch that left him unconscious for nearly 2 weeks. He lost his speech for 6 weeks and dropped 44 pounds.
The Zip, we call him Don Zimmer, and he was one of my racehorse buddies, so we won't talk about the racehorses because I lost so much money going to the racetrack with Zip that I'd rather forget about it right now.
In 1955, Jackie Roosevelt Robinson of Cairo, Georgia, was in the twilight of his professional baseball career. His batting average was at a career low of .256. In his prime, his average was as high as .342. But to the fans of Brooklyn and to millions of Negroes who lived under the repression of segregation, Jackie Robinson was a man who transcended statistics.
Jackie's the greatest competitor I've ever seen.
I was asking somebody how to get to the airport because I was going back to Montreal to pick up my wife. And Jackie Robinson says, "Come on, kid, I'll take you." He took me to the airport out of his way and talked about a lot of things, and not about himself, but things that I had to. It's amazing all the stuff that he went through. And here he's telling a young kid from the South that all the things that I had to look forward to and things that I wanted to watch out for, and he really helped me. I'll never forget that as long as I live.
It was general manager Branch Rickey who in 1947 promoted Jackie to the majors, changing both baseball and America forever.
Could have got Bean, could have hit 210, could have had a nervous breakdown, could have got shot. Who the hell knows? He led the league in hitting. What else do you ask of the guy?
Because our kids don't understand. Our kids don't know who Jackie Robinson was, and Roy Campanella and Don Newcomb and Larry Doby, and what we did to change life and set it up for them to where they don't have to go through all this that we went through. That you can't live in a hotel, and you can't eat in a restaurant, and you can't ride the front of the bus. You have to sit in the back of the bus.
We could care less if Jackie was purple, yellow, or rainbow color. He was our teammate.
Duke Snider was an occasionally temperamental California native. It was a testament to Snider's skill that native Brooklynites affectionately and somewhat humorously nicknamed him the Duke of Flatbush.
Duke is someone that was so good, he didn't use it all. If he had used it all, it'd have been even better than that. He admits to that, of course, because I think he was brought up a little spoiled somewhere along the line.
What a wonderful player he was, my goodness.
Born in Philadelphia to an Italian father and black mother, Roy Campanella loved the game of baseball, and it showed. Campanella played a total of 9 seasons in the Negro Winter and Mexican Leagues before Dodger general manager Branch Rickey made him the first catcher to cross the color barrier in the major leagues.
I think the manager always expected a young pitching staff, which we were, to be very influenced by what Roy called. Don't shake him off much, you know. You better have a good reason if you shake off Roy.
He was a joy to be in the clubhouse with, first of all. He wanted to play. I want to play. I don't care about politics. I don't care about any of that stuff. That was Roy.
And he had a saying. When he'd come in the clubhouse, he'd say, "The same team's going to win today that won yesterday."
Born John Joseph Padres in 1932 in Witherby, New York, Padres began his major league career at the age of 21 with the 1953 Brooklyn Dodgers.
From day one, even when he was in the minor leagues and brought him to Vero Beach on the big league roster, he had a knack of pitching good against the Yankees.
You know, John had the type of pitching, especially what they call the changeup or change of speed. He had the great thing to keep you off balance, and that was one of the great assets that he did have.
Carl Erskine, named Oysk by the fans, was a devout Christian who had grown up during the Depression and served in the Navy during World War II. In 1955, he had an average record, winning 11 games and losing 8, with an earned run average of 3.79. Graceful and athletic, Gilbert Ray Hodge was born in Princeton, Indiana in 1924. When and why his last name changed from Hodge to Hodges still remains a mystery. They say that experience shapes the man. Perhaps because Hodges grew up during the Depression, lost his father at the age of 28, and had fought in some of the fiercest battles in the Pacific, Hodges earned a reputation as an intense and private man.
Silent Sam, but a big, nice, tough Marine. Nice to have because you're getting a fight. You want them on your side, not on theirs.
I never heard the man curse. I never heard him curse. Now, I was a big swearer, and so were some of the others, like Jackie and some of the rest of us. I never heard Gil curse. This was a fine man, a family man.
Roger Craig, brought up from the minor leagues after the 1955 All-Star break, won his major league debut.
When Roger Craig joined the Dodgers in 1955, he had a beautiful lady that he was going to marry. Her name was Carolyn, and they're still married. And I used to kid him all the time, tell him all the time that, how does an ugly man like you get a beautiful woman like Carolyn? And he would laugh at me, and he would say, that's all right, I got her, she's mine. I said, yeah, if I ever get a chance, I'll get her though.
Sandy Ambrose was a speedy utility outfielder in 1955 and a native of Cuba. Ambrose spoke very little English.
Well, he was very, very quiet. He had a great deal of trouble with the English language because he hadn't been long in the United States and all, but he was as quiet as anybody could ever be, seriously.
Clem Labine, born in Lincoln, Rhode Island, was in his 6th season as a Dodger reliever.
We had Clem Labine, the relief pitcher of the decade, Sporting News tells us. And when Clem came in, it wasn't for an inning or two. Sometimes it was for 3 or 4 innings. And when it wasn't relief pitching, he pitched the second game of the 51 playoff, won 10-0. Clem was great. Perfect man for a tight situation.
Of all the Dodger players, the overwhelming fan favorite was Kentucky-born Pee Wee Reese.
When I was a kid, Pee Wee Reese was my favorite player, a little shortstop, because he was the size we all were, 5'9", 170 pounds. We grew up, we said, hey, if he could play in the big leagues, we can play in the big leagues.
He was an avid marble player as a kid. In this game, the Pee Wee is one of the most desired marbles, and so Harold Henry took on the name of his favorite marble from his favorite game. During World War II, Pee Wee spent 3 years in the Navy. When he returned, he was named captain of the Dodgers.
Hey, Pee Wee Reese, I mean, he was the greatest captain that any team could ever have. Till the day he died, he was always the captain. We never called him Pee Wee, we always called him the captain. And he was such a great leader. He was the glue to the team. He kept that team together at all times.
We'd play a day game, and Pee Wee would say to me, come on up to my room when we get back to the hotel. And he picked up the telephone, he called for the bellman, and he said, this is Pee Wee Reese. Is there anywhere you could get us a pair of dice? We were all down to our shorts because it was so hot, and we all had towels, wiping ourselves off as we were shooting craps.
Brad Schricky taught us to not be concerned about individual numbers. Look at the standings of the league, and if you're on top of those standings in the league, your numbers are going to be there. So don't worry about them.
I saw 25 guys that really cared for each other. Talk about chemistry, there was a lot of it in that clubhouse.
We were closer. Families were closer.
We traveled on buses. We traveled on trains.
You sit on an airplane today, you can only talk to one person, that's the guy next to you. But you're on a train, you could go back in the club car, there'd be 15 of us back there.
You can roam around, and you can be together, you can play cards together, you can read. The other one that I will never understand, which is in today's game, is most ball players want to be alone. They want their own rooms, they want a suite or something like that. But mine is, I would never care to play baseball and be alone in my room. I want a teammate. I want him to be able to tell me what his problems are, and I sure in heck want to dump mine on his. And when we're happy, we can be happy together.
Nobody knew what any of the Brooklyn Dodgers' top salary was, and nobody cared, including the players. I didn't care what Pee Wee made, I didn't care what Jackie made, I didn't care what Campanella made, I didn't care what Hodges made. All I was happy about is they signed their contract, they were going to be in Florida for spring training so that we could be a team again.
The Brooklyn Dodgers were the everyman's team. Making their home at the no-frills Ebbets Field, they played in a low-rent stadium in a low-rent neighborhood.
The players lived in the borough. It wasn't as if you had a home 100 miles away from Yankee Stadium or Shea Stadium. The players were easily approachable.
You could walk down the street and run into Jackie Robinson and Pee Wee Reese and Carl Furillo and Duke Snider because they lived in the same neighborhoods as anybody else. Their wives shopped in a local grocery store.
When I'd go on the road, I never worried about my wife and two little boys. You know, and then 2 weeks away and your wife in a strange town or you know, away from the real home. The neighbors took care of seeing that things went well, and we had babysitters that were in the neighborhood. We knew the barber. Go to Cosmo's barber shop. Go down to Joe Rossi, the butcher. These are all part of our life. It was like another hometown.
I think there was a tremendous connection between the players and the town. Contributed immensely to the camaraderie. It contributed to the emotion and the fact of how much people cared.
The ballpark was situated so that it made it great for the fans, and sometimes really great for us, sometimes not, but most of the time good. It's close to the fans, and the closer you are to the fans, the more the fans pick up of the aroma of everything that's going on in the ballpark. They'd boo us just as well as they'd cheer for us, but don't you ever dare say that the Dodger was bad, because then they'd fight you.
They took us in like almost adopted.
Americans love an underdog, and this spirit is what best summed up the Dodger fan. He was the guy who kept coming up short for that Razor promotion, yet continued to toil in the belief that someday his ship would come in.
I'm standing with Carl Erskine in batting practice, and I hear somebody say, "Craig, you're a bum." And I turned around to look at him. Carl patted me on the back and said, "Hey, don't worry, they love you when they say that."
You know, a love affair, you can be real nasty sometimes.
The way we judged ourselves in Brooklyn, we had three things that anybody ever cared about. Number one happened to be the Brooklyn Dodgers. Number two might be God and country. Number three may be family and school. But the Brooklyn Dodgers were number one. That's the thing that mattered. That's the thing that gave you identification.
We felt we were better fans than those fans who frequented Yankee Stadium. Not that we were any smarter, we were sharper.
We had people like Gladys Gooding, who sung the national anthem. She was a former, or supposed to have been, a former opera singer. But you're the hero singing the national anthem. Nobody in baseball history could sing the national anthem like Gladys Gooding. And then there was Hilda Chester with the big cowbell. And then there was the Brooklyn Symphony running around. They couldn't hit a note, couldn't play a note, but they played music for the Dodgers going around and singing.
Each time his heart was broken by another Dodger defeat, his resolve was strengthened by the sure belief that next year he would know what it's like to root for the world champions.
Well, the Brooklyn fans didn't like to lose, and they were used to getting a lot of losses and being considered clowns on the field, getting hit on the head with a fly ball, and running the wrong way on the bases and all that stuff. That was the reputation of the club. But the fans were diehard loyal. I had one lady come up one time, we were leaving the ballpark, and I was walking out with Furillo, and she comes up with this pleading face and says, Carl, please, win. My husband won't eat."
The credo for the Brooklyn Dodger fan became, wait till next year.
At the beginning of every season, particularly 55, it was just like a given thing that the Dodgers would excel, win the pennant, and face the Yankees, and somehow or other, with a twist of fate, twist of luck, they'd lose again.
After a lengthy struggle, the Yankees won the American League pennant by just 3 games over Cleveland. For the Dodgers, their early season dominance allowed them to clinch the pennant on September 8th, the earliest that any team had ever clinched in baseball history. So once again, it would be the Dodgers and the Yankees in the World Series. Little did the world know that this would be a series for the ages.
We made a bet on the 55 World Series. He had a horse and wagon. He sells vegetables on the horse and wagon. And I would have to work on his horse and wagon for a week after school if the Dodgers won the World Series, and I would win $1 if the Yankees won.
The very air seemed clearer then, and to us sports fans most of all, as we watched, without obstruction, the classic rivalry that fall.
We'll start in Yankee Stadium. There's nothing quite equal to the excitement of a World Series opener. The big question, will the Dodgers finally conquer their World Series jinx? Walt Alston, the Dodgers pilot, and Casey Stengel are besieged by the photographers, an old World Series custom. And there they are, the Dodgers and Yankees in full strength. And here come the Yankees for the start of game number 1. Junior Gilliam, Brooklyn's leadoff batter, faces Whitey Ford. And the World Series is on.
First stop, the hallowed house that Ruth built. The Brooks put 2 homers on the board. But Collins struck a more potent pair to redeem game 1 and Whitey Ford.
And the Yankees win this first match of the 1955 series, 6-5.
The highlight of Game 1 ultimately had no effect on the outcome, but surprised everyone when Robinson stole home.
It's fearless. He talked to pitchers. You want to throw at me? Go ahead. He said, I'll get on base. No, I'll whip you that way.
But he was a big guy, and you're the catcher, and he's coming. You're not running out there too quick in front of him. I tell you
Robinson dashes for the plate. It's close, and umpire Summers calls him safe on the daring maneuver. But Yogi Berra doesn't think so.
That was great. I saw that on TV. I saw Jackie Robinson steal home on TV. Even though Yogi Berra says that he was out, I still say he was safe.
My recollection about Robinson stealing home, he's still out, in my mind.
Yankee Stadium is jammed for the second game. Billy Lowe's is Brooklyn's mound nominee. Tommy Byrne will try to baffle the National League champions with his southpaw slants.
Next day, same place, new southpaw. Besides pitching with little fault, Byrne played at half the runs himself, and won game 2 as the result.
And it's all over when Hodges goes down swinging. The Yankees win 4-2 and lead in the series 2-0. It's a thrilling triumph for Byrne, whose arm and bat wrecked the Dodgers.
Dodger fans were left to ponder the sound of one hand clapping, the sound of stunned silence. No team had ever come back from a 2-0 deficit and won the World Series. It was a very long train ride back to Brooklyn.
No, I didn't resign myself. I just became religious and prayed a lot.
We need a win free in Brooklyn. We just one at a time. We just need a win free. Just need a win free.
The old professor and his colleagues now began to sense the bargain sealed, and they could collect their balance due in the games at low-rent Ebbets Field.
Built on the Pigtown garbage dump, Ebbets Field was not destined to become the Cadillac of ballparks. To millions all over America, it had become the cathedral of the underdog.
Brooklyn is a borough of churches, and a lot of people were religious, but we went to pray. Our altar was in Ebbets Field.
Ebbets Field was, it was like a big meeting place. Everybody was friendly, everybody talked to each other.
And you walked into Ebbets Field, clean as a whistle, and you saw that grass. You know, we're in Brooklyn now, we don't have too much grass. And it was perfect.
My father took me to a Dodger game. We sat in the bleachers, 55 cents. My mother gave me a bag of 2 salami sandwiches with a big pickle, and I could buy a soda for a nickel. It was a doubleheader. There used to be day doubleheaders in those days. And by the end of the doubleheader, you were personal friends with everybody sitting around your seats. You exchanged sandwiches, you exchanged, pickles and snacks and everything else. And it was a very warm, connected environment.
It was just like being home.
Pitching for the Yankees was Bob Turley, but taking the mound for the Dodgers was Johnny Padres, who on that day turned the ripe old age of 23.
And ironically, Jackie Robinson told Johnny Padres, "You are pitching the most important game you will ever pitch in your life." And Padres said, "I'm going to be around here a long time." And he said, "No matter what you do from this time on, there will never be a game as important as this game."
Brooklyn's faithful fans roar and salute. and hope as the Dodgers take the field.
Campanella caught me that day, and about the third inning, I come on the bench, he says, "You got pretty good changeup today, kid." And he used my changeup probably more than I ever threw one in my life. You know, as good a changeup as I had. I only threw it maybe 4 or 5 times a game if I stayed out there that long. But this particular day in Brooklyn, I threw my changeup 20 times.
Rizzuto also pops up feebly to Gil Hodges, and Brooklyn's first victory is secure as Padres slams the door on any dramatic Yankee rally. Padres calls his 7-hit victory the best birthday gift he's ever had.
I think it's a thing that is an encouragement to people who try and fail and say, hey, you know you can do it, you believe in yourself, yet you come up short. You can't quit. You just can't quit.
The first game ended 8-3, and then the second 8-5. Both home team wins had many stars, as the old dream would now revive. And in the third game, Sandy homered. Then the Duke of Flatbush blasted too. Some said one barely missed a cherub looking down from Bedford Avenue.
With that towering home run, the Duke became the only player to hit 4 home runs in 2 different World Series.
Howard now is the last hope for the Yankees. But Labine also retires him on a grounder to Gilliam, and the Dodgers win 5-3. For the first time in World Series history, a team has come roaring back to win 3 straight after losing the first 2 games.
There's one interesting story about the '55 World Series with my next-door neighbor. They were really die-hard Dodger fans, and they couldn't stand to lose to the Yankees. And when the Yankees won the first 2 games, I was on my high horse, you know. And then they lost the next 3, and they were knocking on my door, and they put a sign on my door, "You'll have to wait till next year."
So, the underdogs had now won 3, and thus needed only take 1 more. But they'd have to win it in the Bronx, where they'd lost the 2 games played before.
Unlike their Brooklyn counterparts, the Yankee fans did not hold any thoughts that they might lose the World Series.
I thought that the Yankees would, prevail in Yankee Stadium.
I think the Yankees were always confident against the Brooklyn Dodgers. They just felt that the Dodgers were jinxed, and the Dodgers only won, the Yankees felt, when they played in that little Ebbets Field. When they played in big Yankee Stadium, they weren't the same team.
It was not a matter of if, but when the Yankees would clinch.
For the 6th contest, the Subway Series rivals are back in Yankee Stadium. And now the Yankees are in an unfamiliar role. They are back to the wall with the Dodgers just 1 victory away from the World Championship.
Game 6 produced no mystic deeds. Well, none a Brooklynite could see. For Skowron shot with 2 men on, tied the series at 3-3.
Into the right field stand.
If you were a Dodger fan, you were used to suffering, so having a 7th game was sort of in the books for you. You knew you were going to have to suffer all the way through.
We had our fingers crossed.
I felt kind of weird, like this might be the change.
If I thought they were going to lose, I wouldn't have gone to the game.
Fortunately for the fans, the Dodger players were seasoned professionals. While they were keenly aware of their previous failures, they refused to be overwhelmed by their past.
We did not go into that '55 series feeling that we were going to lose. We got one of the best little guys to go at that time, my roomie, Johnny Padres. And John was up to it, I'll tell you. He was very, very, I never saw him so high in my life.
Went down the Yankee lineup, and I turned to Dixie. "No Mickey Mantle?" I said, "That lineup can't beat me today." And Dixie looking at me, and he's smiling. I was trying to pump myself up so much.
On this day, October 4th, 1955, the Brooklyn Dodgers came into Yankee Stadium fully expecting to win the World Series.
We parked our cars at Ebbets Field, took the bus over, and Johnny got on the bus and says, "Just give me 1 run, that's all I'm going to need." And so we'd be a few blocks away from Ebbets Field, and somebody say, "How many runs you need today, John?" Just get me one, that's all I'm gonna need.
What a cocky little devil he was, and could back it up. And that's what always impressed me. He could be cocky and he could back it up.
The first 2.5 innings were uneventful. It was beginning to look like a classic pitcher's duel. But the lack of scoring didn't diminish the excitement for the fans. It was only a matter of time. As each batter came and went, the stakes got even higher. The top of the 4th inning saw Roy Campanella, the catcher with the cat-like reflexes, get the Dodgers' first hit with a 2-base drive to left field. But Carl Furillo grounded out to short. It was Hodges' turn to bat with 2 outs. Watching their TVs, listening to their radios, or sitting at the game, Dodger fans everywhere could physically feel the tension in the air.
I was really getting lightheaded and ready to fall off my seat. I was so nervous.
Campanella comes home when Hodges singles to left, and the Dodgers are out in front, 1-0.
The Yanks began their half of the 4th inning with a lead-off double off the bat of Yogi Berra. Let the coronation begin. With 2 outs and a man in scoring position, would the proud and mighty Yankee bats rise to the occasion? Not on this day. Padres got Bob Cerf to pop up to end the threat.
Reese makes the catch, and the Brooklyn lead is safe.
In the top of the 6th with 1 out and the bases loaded, Hodges hit a sac fly to center, scoring Reese. Dodgers 2, Yanks nothing. With 2 outs, Don Hoke walked. Next up was the right-handed second baseman, Don Zimmer.
And we had a man on third base and 1 out. At that time, I played second base, and Junior Gilliam was playing left field. And Casey come out to the mound to take out the left-handed pitcher, to bring in a right-handed pitcher to pitch to me. And Alston took me out of the game, and I think sent up George Schuber the pinch hit for me.
I got a high curveball from Grimm. Should have hit it on. I hit on top of it and rolled down to first base. I was going to go grab my glove and go to left field. If I would have did that, 15 Dodgers would have tackled me before I made the foul line. I wasn't that great of a fielder.
After that inning was over, he brought Gilliam in from left field to play second base, put Amoros in left field.
This seemingly routine defensive move set up a legendary play that would change Brooklyn's fortunes and baseball history. The inning got off to a good start for the Yanks as Johnny Padres walked Billy Martin. Then Gil McDougall beat out a bunt for a single, sending Martin to second base. The Yankees and their fans began to sense a shift in momentum. New York now had 2 men on base and no outs. Up next, the one batter Dodger fans feared the most, Yogi Berra.
When he hit it, I said, well, that's an out.
There goes the drive down the left field
And
line.
I looked up and the ball, I could play golf, hit one of those banana balls and slice it.
Everybody said, oh, here we go again.
And Sandy Amoros races for the ball, sticks out his glove just in time and makes the catch. And McDougall has rounded second base. He throws to Reese. And Reese's peg to Hodges doubles McDougall at first.
The real break of everything that happened was the catch that left fielder made. And I think that just boosted everybody so much because we probably might have lost that game right there if he had not caught that ball Yogi hit.
He made a great catch. He should have got more publicity. He didn't speak English, so he didn't get. That was a greater catch than Mays made on Verts.
Nobody else could have made that catch. He was a lefty. He was the only one that could have made that catch. If there was a righty out there, it would have been a hit.
It was a catch that I will never forget.
The relay to Reese, notice which direction Reese turns in. He grabs the ball and turns to the right. The whole play is in front of him. He didn't hesitate a split second, and we got the double play. When that happened, we knew it was over.
We knew it.
Through the next 2 innings, Padres faced 9 Yankees and gave up 3 hits and no runs.
And you know the best pitch I threw in the 7th game of the World Series? I threw a Sandy Koufax fastball to the big guy, Hank Bauer. I pitched him inside, and I remember Zimmer when I was walking off. He was right at that top of that dugout, counting his money. I only had 1 more to go. And I remember getting off the mound that day in the 8th inning, and it seemed like all of Yankee Stadium was just standing on their feet. I'm saying, man, I can't let this one get away from me now.
Padres was thinking the whole game. He was 2 pitches, 3 pitches ahead of all the Yankee batters.
Down by a score of 2-0, the Yanks now had one last opportunity to change the outcome of the game and history.
I just held my breath probably for the last 3 outs.
One more out, one more out, one more out.
In an agonizing at-bat that seemed to last for eternity, Padres faced Howard. With a 2-2 count as Howard fouled off fastball after fastball after fastball.
And all of a sudden, after all those years that Pee Wee and all the rest of the boys this summer have been trying to chase the Yankees and couldn't get there, wait till next year, who's the bum? A ground ball to Pee Wee.
The ground to Pee Wee
They
Reese.
weren't bums no
And
more.
these Dodgers at last are world champions.
We were numb. We were numb.
And in a split second, I just calmly got up, left the living room, walked into the bathroom, shut the door, locked it, and then screamed at the top of my lungs, a scream that shook the entire apartment house.
Every street, confetti, people running, screaming, the whole borough erupted like I've never seen in my life.
All hell broke loose. I kissed people I didn't even know.
The beer's on me.
We got beat in the 7th game, and it was hard to take because there was a sign on my door, wait till next year.
With a simple throw and a catch, 65 years of frustration ended in a heartbeat. For the first time ever, the Brooklyn Dodgers were world champions.
We were sort of in awe a bit. There wasn't the celebration that you would think that there would be immediately.
I think going into the clubhouse is what was strange, is that when we got into the clubhouse, the media was not there at that time, if you know what I mean. And I think there was a aloneness for a lot of us to go someplace, because I'm not being melancholy about this, a lot of people cried.
Somebody said, and I don't know who it was, said, "Hey, we won." And everybody said, "That's right." And we started celebrating then, and everybody had a good time.
And that's when, of course, the champagne bubble is thrown at everybody, and you get even with a reporter you didn't like, and you cover him with a little bit of champagne. And then you fall in love together, if you know what I mean. It's a very joyous moment.
Just to get the monkey off their back, I felt so great for them that it finally happened.
It brought respectability to the borough of Brooklyn, and it lifted us up, up, up with the big town, uptown. Now we're no longer the almost team.
Oh, I always like to take credit for helping to win the World Series, the 7th game, by being taken out of the lineup.
Is what we hold on to. This is our one great memory.
The miracle on Flatbush Avenue.
The idea that the underdog sometimes gets its day, and that no matter how dark things look, how depressing things look, you can still hang in there, work hard, and sometimes that joyous victory will come to you.
It'll always be one of the greatest series ever. I mean, it was the only one the Brooklyn Dodgers ever won, and unless they move back to Brooklyn, we'll never see another one.
I don't think the Yankee fans want to remember it too much.
Terms like unselfishness and teamwork, also perseverance, hope, and grit. Even better than their uniforms. Those descriptions seemed a perfect fit. But magic? Maybe. Or at least, things in which logic plays no part. Those things not seen upon the field, yet things seen clearly with the heart. A generation since has passed. Now, Ebbets Field is just a ghost. Dem bums are strictly Dodgers now, who entertain the other coast. The old players went their separate ways, some arriving at the Hall of Fame. Some no longer walk among us now, but all left their mark upon the game. Most all of them have took their lumps, like other mortal beings do, and some scribes still write about them, with insight often less than true. Sure, nostalgia can be overdone, and hero worship much the same. Most trivia is trivial. After all, baseball's just a game. Yet, in today's world, full of doubts, one recollection does survive. When to believe was to achieve. Back in 1955.